Hello and welcome back to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic. Today we are going to roll out with another installment of our Up and Up series, and today's featured deck is Ramos Dragon Engine. Hello and welcome back, fans. This is the MTG Burgeoning Up and Up series. We were going to take some cards, swap them in, and take some cards and swap them out of Ramos Dragon Engine. Now, Ramos is a 4/4 flying legendary artifact dragon for 6 colorless mana. And whenever we cast a spell, we put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos for each of that spell's colors. We can remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos to add 2 white, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 red, and 2 green to our mana pool, an ability that we can only activate once each turn. In order to optimize the number of +1/+1 counters that we have on Raymond, the deck is filled with numerous multicolored spells. We are playing a 5-color deck. However, the vast majority of the spells in this deck are multicolored. And the updates and upgrades that we're going to make to this deck today are all focused on smoothing out the mana and making it easier to cast those multicolored spells. And how we're going to do that is we are going to take some of the greatest strengths of this deck, weakening each one of them by 1 card in order to strengthen the overall performance of the deck by focusing more on smoothing out the mana. And the first card may seem like it's a bad choice to take out, but let me explain what card is going to go in its place. Farseek is going to come out. For 1 and a green, it's a sorcery that allows us to search our library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. This is a card that lets us target any triome in our deck and get it right into play. So what's going to take this card's place? What's going to be better than Farseek? Lasting Power. That comes in the form of a copy of the channel's namesake, Burgeoning. For a green, it's an enchantment that says whenever an opponent plays a land, we may put a land card from our hand onto the battlefield. With so many different spells in this deck that allows us to draw cards, we always have tons of cards in our hand. Farseek gives us 1 land at the cost of a sorcery. Burgeoning could give us lands around the table each time. So Burgeoning has a lot more lasting power. Now, granted, it's an enchantment, and enchantments can be removed. However, enchantments are usually longer lasting than, say, your creatures or your artifacts, and even your planeswalkers. So I believe that taking out Farseek, which allows us to search for any 1 land and put it right into play, will help more from a quantity standpoint, because with all of the cards that we are allowed to draw with the spells that are in this deck already, Burgeoning will allow us to put a land into play each time one of our opponents plays a land. So Farseek out, Burgeoning is in. 2 more changes. Like I said, we're slightly weakening some of the stronger parts of the deck in order to solidify and enhance the mana base of the deck. Keep that in mind when we talk about exclusion number 2, Grim Tutor. 1 and 2 black. This is a demonic tutor that costs 1 more black and 3 life. We have a lot of tutors in this deck already. I think bringing 1 tutor out for the purposes of trying to have a smoother and better, more efficient way to cast all of the spells in this deck will not be missed. I don't believe that we're going to miss a Grim Tutor, particularly when we can include a copy of Forbidden Orchard. Forbidden Orchard says tap to add 1 mana of any mana to our mana pool. Absolutely perfect for what we want to do. These are the kind of lands that we want to inundate the deck with, because there are just so many different multicolored spells in this deck. Whenever we tap Forbidden Orchard, why do I keep saying Orchard? Forbidden Orchard. Whenever we tap Forbidden Orchard for mana, target opponent creates a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. Luckily for us, and I have no idea how this can even happen or exist, the spirit doesn't fly. I don't know how a spirit can't fly. To me, that's just mind-boggling, but, I mean, we'll go with it for the purposes of this deck. If it provided a flying spirit, that might be a little more difficult to reconcile adding to the deck. But a 1/1 walker for 1 mana of any color, I'll take that any day of the week and twice on Friday Night Magic. So with Grim Tutor coming out, we're adding a land that can give us 1 mana of any color. Lastly, last change for this Up and Up series. This is a quick one here. We're going to remove a Swan Song. Now, this deck is not one that is flooded with counterspells because I just won't make a deck like that. This was included as a way in which to protect Ramos, to protect the Omniscience engine that we were trying to run. There's already counterspells in this deck in the form of Pact of Negation, and I believe, is there a Fierce Guardianship in this deck? I actually don't remember at this moment. I think there is. I think we played with that deck as well. And each of those counterspells with Ramos in play will cost us 0 up front. Swan Song costing 1 blue seemed like it would be the weaker of the trifecta of those 3 counterspells. And that makes it a lot easier to say we can pull out one of these 3 counterspells, the weakest one, as a way in which to make our land base a little more efficient for casting our spells. So yes, so Pact of Negation stays, Fierce Guardianship stays, Swan Song comes out, to be replaced by Cascading Cataracts. Cascading Cataracts is an indestructible land that taps for 1 colorless mana. Not what we're looking for. However, by tapping 5 and tapping this land, we can add 5 mana in any combination of colors to our mana pool. With the mana rocks that we have that generate colorless mana, and some of the other things that we can do with this deck, utilizing Cascading Cataracts as a way in which to smooth and fix needed colored mana will go a lot further in the long game than keeping a copy of Swan Song. And I do want to take a moment just to kind of retract something that I just said with respect to the Swan Song swap. I did go through the deck as I had the video paused, and I want to correct myself. There is not a copy of Fierce Guardianship in this deck. I must have mistaken that with my Scion of the Ur-Dragon deck. So the only remaining counterspell remains Pact of Negation. So Swan Song comes out, leaving just the Pact of Negation in the deck. So I want to make sure I stand corrected. There is no copy of Fierce Guardianship in this deck. It's just Pact of Negation, and that's all. So just the 1 counterspell of blue variety. All right, folks, this is MTG Burgeoning. You're watching the Up and Up series, and in this installment, we talked about Ramos Dragon Engine. If you missed any of the previous deck techs of Ramos Dragon Engine or want to check out the deck list, you can click any of the links in the description below, and it'll bring you right to what you're looking for. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.